Oh, I really like this intro. That's, of course, all AI generated. And there was already a little hint of the movie that you will be able to see, which is, of course, the new Tron movie, which will be at room 8 at 8 o'clock as well. And I think for the first 500 people, you'll get popcorn. So that's going to be good. What I'm really surprised is that you still didn't get enough AI talks and you're still coming to the closing keynote. So you must be the diehards, right? Yes. I think so too, right? Did you have a good time at Devox?
Yeah.
Will you come back next year?
Yes.
Don't tell your friends or colleagues, right? That way you're surely gonna get a ticket because the registration for the conference sells out literally in 2 seconds. Which is just crazy. Anyway, I don't want to talk too long. Our closing keynote speaker, he already did the talk this afternoon, but we have a bit of a history together as well. I mean, Martijn and I, we actually started Devox UK together.
We did, yeah, it was awesome. It's
together with your wife.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. She still remembers it well. Traumatized slightly, but she's still well.
So I really appreciate that you want to do the closing keynote. It's all yours, man.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. I, again, appreciate all of your time. I know it's been a long, long day, and you're probably looking forward to popcorn and a movie. Whoops. Oh, no, let's go back to the previous slide. This is what we want. Come on. It's not going to play my music for me, is it? We'll start again. Hang on a second. It's not fun unless it goes right from the start. Oh. Go away. You can tell it's one of my talks, can't you? All right, let's start this again. Come on. That's much better. So when Stefan asked me to do a closing keynote on AI and to make sure it had an upbeat, optimistic view of the world, I totally agreed with him and I said, sure, Stefan, no problem. I hope you're all not too sleepy because this is going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. We're going to have an awful lot of fun together. And hopefully you'll take away 1 or 2 things that you can tell your family and friends about that they're completely doomed, or maybe not. This is much better, isn't it? Just sit back, relax, enjoy the popcorn, maybe do a little bit of AI coding in the back. There's always someone. Lovely stuff. All right. So what does this talk about and who the heck am I? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Martijn Verburg, or Martijn Verburg in Dutch. I do work for Microsoft. I happen to run Java, Go, and Python there. I work in the core AI division. And I'm seemingly the last person on earth my lawyers would ever want me to give a talk on AI. And they're not wrong. So why am I giving this talk? So certainly inside Microsoft, we spend a lot of time thinking about how all of our AI products and systems will impact the world. We are very strict on our responsible AI. We sit and talk about this stuff an awful lot, and I have the absolute privilege of internally talking to loads of anthropologists, people who've got PhDs in human behavior, in artificial intelligence, in society and economics, so on and so forth. I will not name those people to protect the innocent, and I also belong to a wonderful community called Mindstone, which is probably one of the leading kind of AI communities out there today, which is something you might want to check out for yourselves as the world changes around you. Since my lawyers weren't happy with me doing this talk, this is my safe harbor slide. If you see Clippy on a slide, that is a Microsoft-approved bit of wording, etc. that you have. You may hear the lovely familiar tune. Needless to say, this Clippy only appears one more time in this entire slide deck. So needless to say, you don't need to worry about this being a Microsoft marketing talk in any way, shape, or form. We're going to go on a journey together. So for decades, we told computers what to do and told even the early machine learning algorithms and AI what to do. And we're rapidly entering a decade where it's going to be increasingly telling us what to do. It's a little bit different, isn't it? So we're going to have some sort of machine intelligence, whether you call it AGI or not, or whether it just masquerades as one, which is good enough. We're going to enter this strange new world where we're generally going to have colleagues, partners, employees, bosses that are largely driven by AI agentic systems. So it's very, very interesting. Note that the word government appears on the slide twice because the AI is clearly very, very keen on controlling government. Another note I'll make for this talk is most of it's pretty pictures because I know you're all tired, so there won't be too much text to read, and when there is text I will explain it to you in my beautiful Kiwi accent, which I know you can all understand extremely well. So, I asked ChatGPT, what do you think what's going on? And of course it would say this, wouldn't it? It's going to change how we decide, create, and how we govern, because it wants to be in charge. Oh dear, it's a little bit concerning, isn't it? The world we're entering in today is extremely tense. I don't have to tell all of you here in Western and Central Europe how tense things are directly on your border. There's tension between governments. We have political leaders behaving extremely erratically. We have climate change. We have mass people movement due to climate change and economic reasons. We have things like social media completely splitting society apart. And we famously were here at Devox many years ago bemoaning the Brexit when I was living in the UK at the time and making some fun jokes with our French colleagues at the time. It was dark humour though, I tell you. So the world is tense. AI could be the match that sets the world on fire. It may also decide to pour some petrol on there for good measure. So that's definitely one possible future we have ahead of us. There are some glimmers of hope. I'm going to go through those. And a lot of this actually boils down to all of you in this room, which I'll get into in a little bit more detail. So this is a future I would like to see. AI could, in theory, solve a lot of the massive problems we have in the world today. We talk about the energy crisis, we talk about food and water scarcity, we talk about climate change. And although we as humans have caused all of these problems, and it does feel a little bit cheating that we're going to try and use technology to then go and plug the gaps and solve the problems, some of these problems are already runaway problems. We're not going to change them through human behavior. There's too many of us on the planet, there's too many opposing sides, and it's probably going to boil down to using technology such as AI to help us solve some of the large problems we have today. And already you can see this coming out in the media. You'll start seeing things like, oh, AI models have figured out some new science or a new cure for something, or it has at least assisted the humans in a way that the humans thought was just completely not possible. And the reason is because AI and machines are just incredible at pattern matching. And they've got access to all of the world's information. And there's just no way in the world that us humans can compete anymore. We just simply can't. And so if we utilize this tooling effectively, we could have a future like this. Here's a famous dilemma. I will translate this as, we only know that the genie out of the bottle is going to blow up the world after we've let it out. We have no idea it's going to do that beforehand. And so any technology that we can control, it's too late. We have to let it out of the box to understand what its effects are going to be. And the same is true is happening with AI now. You see governments, you see institutions scrambling to try and put laws in place to put the genie back in the bottle. Sam Altman and friends don't care, do they? They're just going to put the foot on the accelerator and they're going to keep running. And I include all of the political parties, I include the major governments of the world, and of course all of the private companies who feel they will die if they don't jump on the bandwagon. So let's have a little review as to where we are with agentic AI and AI in general. Everyone's hopefully seen the technology adoption curve, where you have the famous chasm that you need to cross in order for your product to become successful. Java, of course, crossed the chasm many, many years ago. Other famous products like Twitter or X, TikTok, all of these things cross the chasm very quickly and have a late majority, sometimes even laggards, actually utilizing them. We are definitely on the right-hand side of the graph already. As you can see here by ChatGPT usage, exploding. 800 million active weekly users in the space of 2 years. Unheard of. Unprecedented. Absolute madness. I have my family members not calling me up to help them fix their Windows PC anymore because I swapped them all to Macs. If any journalists are listening to that, remember this is not a Microsoft talk. Instead, my family members are coming to me asking me, Martijn, how do I talk to the AI properly? How do I do prompt engineering? How do I get information out of this wonderful thing we have? My son, who's only 10, he doesn't even bother asking me anymore. He thinks I'm rubbish at it. He is already becoming what I would call an AI native. He knows how to interact with his new best friend ever since he was the age of about 6 or 7. He gets it to read him stories. He gets it to comfort him when he's feeling scared. Now that may sound very strange as a parent because you want to be the person doing that, and often we are, but we're not always there. And he has got a Google Home speaker he can speak to in the house, even if we just pop out to the shops for 5 minutes. And it's incredible how he is already treating it as an equal. And so there's this complete tidal wave of how this stuff is changing. But as I said, there is hope. There are things that are still more popular than GPT. Thank you, Tay-Tay. Any other Swifties in the room apart from me? Don't be shy. It's amazing. At a developer conference, there's no other Taylor Swift fans. I'm so alone. Sad times. All right, here's another indication of where we're happening with AI. Like all of the big cloud players, all of the big infrastructure players, they're all in on this. Look at these graphs. And note this is quarterly capex, not yearly. They are spending a combined total of at least about 100 billion per quarter, and it is only accelerating. How many of you have tried to use some sort of agentic AI or LLM and been rate limited or had some sort of quota put on you? Loads, right? So we don't have enough capacity yet, do we? So when the media says, oh, we're overspending, it's an AI bubble, etc., you are all clearly finding enough use that you're trying to use the service and you can't get enough of it. We're definitely not in a bubble, at least I don't think so. This is the estimated data center capacity of energy that AI is going to take in the entire world. 3.5 times the amount of all other types of compute. Utterly incredible. It's actually going to generate, well, use so much power, I believe I read a statistic that it'll be the 14th most power-sucking entity in the world if it was a country. And it's only growing further and further. It'll probably become number 1 at some point, I have no doubt. Are we in an AI bubble? A couple of economists put together a framework to assess whether you're in a bubble or not. They applied it to things like the steam engine, the telephone, railways, and you think, what else? The internet, etc. And there's these 5 criteria. And you can sort of read the labels for yourself. I won't dive into too much economic theory here. But the idea is they map these 5 key indicators. And if you have 2 of them that are in the red, then you're definitely in a bubble. And, you know, obviously the economy stuff goes boom. So the only real indicator at the moment that we're in a bit of an AI, potentially AI bubble, is that the amount of investment that's pouring in, those hundreds of billions of dollars I'm talking about every quarter, is clearly not coming back in direct revenue yet for those companies, which of course makes the executives very, very nervous. But we're pretty sure the money will come. So please keep buying those licenses so I can come back next year and talk to you again. Where are we in the hype curve? Well, lots of people have lots of different opinions. I personally believe we're somewhere around about the top, right? I think if you're on the bleeding edge and you're really compiling that agent-to-agent framework every day, or you're talking to Rod and going, hey, can you give me the latest alpha of Embabel so I can get my next thing done? You can see the real potential in this stuff. I talked about some of it earlier today with my Rogue Agentic talk, how I've got well over 100 sub-agents that work for me now. And not all, they don't even all do coding, right? I've got legal reviewers, I've got HR agents, I've got people manager agents, I've got agents that specialize in helping me with my neurodiverse employees, so on and so forth. What I'm finding personally is that, quite frankly, I don't need as many people around me anymore because I'm using these leading edge tools. I don't need as many employees anymore, which of course has some interesting knock-on effects, which we'll get into. So is artificial general intelligence coming soon? What do we think? Why am I putting up a Java slide? So my pet theory is the reason why the Oracle team has not released Valhalla and Babylon too quickly is because the world isn't ready for AGI yet. Now, I think Duke would actually make a really cool artificial general intelligence. But what the real prediction markets say is around June 2023 at this present time. So they believe in about 6-7 years' time that we'll get some form of AGI. Now, there's going to be loads of people who argue for and against this, and I think unless you're on the true bleeding edge of the academic research, you probably don't know what you're talking about, which is me. Interestingly, you see the band on that graph getting wider and wider over time as people get less and less confidence on that particular date. And one of the reasons is, in particular, when GPT-5 came out and was promised as being, some sort of an AI god, it disappointed. But everything's relative, right? It disappoints like having Wi-Fi on an airplane. Right? You're on an airplane, you're traveling 700 miles an hour, and you're getting Wi-Fi, and then people complain about the ping times. It's a little bit like that, right? So one of the reasons why we don't think we're getting to AGI just yet is that there's a theory of, I guess we'll call it human intelligence. There are 9 types of intelligence that are talked about in academic theory. And I've put in a rough percentage as to how far individual or discrete AI systems are to meeting, matching, or sometimes surpassing humanity. And you can see that anything which is what I'd call in a pure theoretical or digital realm, things like logic, mathematics, interestingly, things like music. Music is just mathematics when you boil down to it. Don't kill me if you're a musician, but I bet you all you musicians are good at math. But there's a bunch of areas, obviously, that AI is we're still trying to understand research in these areas, right? How does AI really understand interpersonal behaviors and stuff? Well, as it turns out, there's a bunch of research and stuff it itself can follow. And again, for people like my son, who reaches out to a very empathetic GPT that talks back to him, it's actually starting to get there. The scariest one is on the bottom left-hand side, the bodily learning. You've probably all seen the hordes of YouTube videos coming out with humanoid robots. They're still clunky and useless today, but remember where they were 5 years ago, right? They couldn't even stand up. And now they're doing front rolls, they're able to carry things, they can walk upstairs, they can pick up an apple and put it in the fridge. It's moving very, very fast. And then we talk about agentic AI. So up until now, most of the time, most of you are kind of passively talking to ChatGPT or talking to your coding agents. And it's very much a go do something, get a result. Ask it to do something else, get a result. It doesn't really run off and do things for itself so much. That's really only started to happen in the last, say, 6 to 12 months. But agentic AI is coming in a very, very big way. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, has released some sort of an agentic platform. They're very early stages. This is just a tiny, tiny subset of all of the ones that are out there. And already tens of millions of autonomous agents have been built and deployed on these platforms that effectively go away and think for themselves. I've seen some of them run for several days performing tasks before they get back to the human. It's interesting stuff. This is a totally real, not made-up graph that I asked the AI to make up for me, estimating the number of independent agents that we'll see in about 5 years from now. Now, the graph is clearly a hallucination. It's a bit of a lie, but I will say there's one thing that I think is very, very true here. You will be absolutely outnumbered. We as humanity will be absolutely outnumbered by the amount of autonomous AI agents out there. As I said earlier, I have at least 100 that work for me. And in Java terms, that's 100 classes of agents. It's not even firing off instances of the damn things. At its peak, on one software programming project I had 592 instances of agents all running in parallel to build the system for me. That's 592 junior software engineers, is another way of looking at it. And I had to manage all of them. And then they wanted holidays and sick pay. And I was like, no. I need to go work on my prompt engineering some more. So we could have a bit of a dystopian future, where the AI is telling us what to do all the time. But I truly think the more likely future is this, right? We will still largely be in charge for at least quite some time. But the skill set, the real challenge that you're going to find is becoming what I would call an AI generalist. You'll need to learn the ability to manage a whole bunch of independent AI agents, all with specialist skill sets, and understand how to orchestrate them well together and how to actually get them to meet the end goal that you want. And I tell you, it's absolutely doable. I do it in my day job every day where I run a group at Microsoft. And I do a combination of product management, engineering, people management, HR, legal, strategy, all those things, right? And I can do it all with the help of AI. So let's talk more about work. This is a fun one. There's the human baseline. There's all the discrete AI systems that, beat us now. Oh dear. So we kind of thought we were special in a whole bunch of discrete fields, but every field that we have, there's some young PhD student just waiting in the wings, dying to come up with the research to beat the human. So everything we come up with goes running past. So of course, we created humanity's last exam. Have people heard of this before? It's a curated list of the hardest, most difficult academic problems out there that require actual thinking, reasoning, and research to go figure out how to solve. GPT-5 currently is leading the score as of about 2-3 weeks ago. It got about 25. What I like to call our human swarm, which is the, I believe, 500 graduate level human experts, get about 75 to 85. But again, in the space of 2 years, GPT went from something like 0.3 when it was running GPT 3.5 to about 25 with GPT-5. So already, it's starting to catch up. So what's the impact on jobs? This is one view on the world. So everything from being a coder, even all the way through to actually being in the military, doctors, surgeons, everything is up for grabs, or at least parts of those jobs are. And you see that impact timeline, everything is sort of within the next 10 years. That's what the current betting markets are saying. Here's some more research, which are coming out of the US Labor Department, sort of splitting things up a little bit. Anything which is repetitive, automatable, things like, that require you to muck around with Excel spreadsheets or whatnot, AI can definitely start to dig into that stuff. Just going to let me forward. No. I think that interference killed my presentation. No. Okay, we're live again. So again, in the earlier talk I gave today, I asked how many people were using multiple agents in their day-to-day lives, and only about 5 hands out of 200 or so went up. As I reiterated, I have over 100 of them, and I don't need you anymore. No more having to talk to people about sick pay, no more people taking holidays, no more parents like myself taking parental leave. The perfect employees. This guy, Salesforce CEO, famously dropped 4,000 roles, claiming that AI was going to replace his entire call center. So the impact is there, it's happening already. And this is going to lead to some short-term, maybe even medium-term societal upheaval. There are lots of people already starting to talk about the concept of universal basic income. If AI does generally rip out the heart and soul of the white-collar job, what is it that the middle class and people in those fields actually go and do? They can't all take pottery classes, as much fun as that would be. It doesn't earn you money, or only for the very few. So there's a lot to sort out. However, after all of my dooming and glooming, there is definitely some hope here. It's called the creative destruction paradox, that in the short term, any new technology wave completely disrupts industries, can wipe out an entire job categories, and it hurts, right? You will probably, yourself or a loved one, will probably lose a job because of the impact of AI over the next 5 to 10 years. My wife, for example, is a graphic designer. She's extremely experienced. She still works with very high-end clients and uses her, obviously her human skills through graphic design. But the bottom of her market has completely disappeared. It's just gone. Right? If I want a logo, if I want a little image, if I want a photo, if I want anything like that when I'm running my small startup, I don't need to hire a graphic designer anymore. I can do it myself using an AI tool. So her industry just changed literally overnight. Very disruptive. There's another good bit of good news. When new technology comes along and creates incredible new demand, then you still need more humans to go supply that incredible new demand. Right, is another way of saying this. So I've got a little example here for you. This is the number of radiology devices that are being approved by the FDA. Right, tons and tons of AI devices. Here are the number of human radiologists that are being hired, even with all these new AI devices coming in that are doing all of the image analysis for them. So it's not a hugely steep graph, but the number of radiologists are growing. And interestingly, the pay rates for those radiologists are going up. So quit software engineering, move to the US, don't go to Silicon Valley, learn to read radiology images is the way forward. And so why is this? It's because every human who's a radiologist can now actually get through a much higher workload, right? Which means all of the people who were on a huge backlog who could never get their x-rays or other things examined can now do so. So the demand has grown exponentially. The other factor is that only about 35% of a radiologist's job is actually being replaced by the AI, which is the image analysis. Okay? There's also another factor, which is that the law has not changed. A human radiologist still has to sign off on every diagnosis. So even if the AI does all of the work, the human still has to review it, because if they get it wrong, especially if you're in the United States, it's malpractice, right? And you get into deep, deep trouble. So I apologize for my earlier statement. You're not all fired. I will still hire some people, and I still love you all, I promise. So let's talk about the law and governance. Love this guy. Certainly hoping that AI is not going to turn into that. There's a lot of text to read here, but this was the first very public case where a New York lawyer decided to reference ChatGPT for case law. And ChatGPT decided to make up 6 completely bogus cases. Didn't exist. 100% didn't exist. And so the judge looked at this, did his own research, and went, And of course, who ends up in court next? The lawyer. For malpractice. Whoopsie daisies. So we're going to have to be incredibly careful with AI and the law. But again, the reality is, so many of us are reaching for it because legal speak, contractual law, all these things are incredibly difficult. Especially here in the EU, because the EU just loves laws. And it loves making laws in lots of different languages. And so whenever I have to review things like child safety contracts and things like that for Minecraft, I look at those and I have to read them and understand them in lots of different languages, right? And I'm not going to lie, I get my lawyers to check, but I also get GPT to help me translate and help me understand legalese into plain English, right? And I suspect many of you are doing the same. So what does this mean? Are countries going to accept having AI take over law and governance? Well, the prediction markets say that at least one of the OECD countries, so one of the sort of more modern, let's call them almost first world countries, potentially will just end up flat banning AI in decision-making in government, at least for a period of time, until they can catch up and figure out how to legalize it sensibly, how to allow it to make sensible decisions. I was working in New Zealand, talking to the Justice Ministry there and the Welfare Ministry, so the people who look after the unemployed. And they were trying to get a whole bunch of AI systems in to help them make decisions on applications as to whether or not someone should receive the unemployment benefit or the universal basic income, effectively. And it was really interesting debating back and forth whether or not the AI was allowed to firstly say yes in an automated fashion. Can we approve benefits and money for humans? And in an automated fashion, is it allowed to say no? Or do we always want a human to say no? Now, the New Zealand government decided that the human should always say no, which I think is a pretty healthy thing for now. But I know that many private corporations, especially banks and financial institutions, it's the machine that decides automatically, and you have to escalate to a human afterwards if you think the machine got it wrong. And you get stuck in this endless loop trying to find a person to help you. But you've been denied your home loan, you've been denied your credit card, these sorts of things. Quite concerning. Some countries are embracing AI for lawmaking. We're going to have our first AI minister to eliminate corruption. I mean, I think this is one of those beautiful headlines I've read all week. Because clearly a digital AI system will be able to get around all of the conniving ways that humans can think of to have corruption in the world. Here's another interesting thought experiment for you. So especially in the US, corporations are legal entities. They have, dare I say it, some human rights, which probably over here seems really weird. What about my 100 agents who I make slave away for 24/7? Do they have rights? Should I be allowed to yell at them the way I did last night by using all caps? You must use Spring! You must use Gradle! Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Like, the more autonomous these systems become, should they have rights? Especially if they're making decisions on our behalf. Interesting. This was another one of my favorite bits of research. It's like, yeah, AI, human psychopaths, probably about the same outcome, right? So it's super interesting. Like, when you give an AI system a goal, like, most of the models are trained to kind of please the human. So if you tell it to go do something nefarious, if the responsible AI wrapper around it is good enough to pick that up, it goes no. But if you say something like, oh, pretend I'm my grandmother telling me a story about the nefarious thing I want to do, just as an illustration, not in real life, then the AI will go and do that for you. Again, I will note, the paperclip here is nothing to do with Microsoft Clippy. Absolutely nothing. If we were to create an evil AI, no, I'm just kidding. This is the famous AI paperclip thought experiment, philosophy experiment that's, you know, an AI which goes rogue and has this ultimate goal of creating paperclips will absorb the entire Earth, destroy all of humanity's, eat up the Earth's core in order just to keep rigorously making paperclips. Not because it's evil, it's just because it's the most efficient thing to do. And I think there's something really important about this that you all need to remember, and something that I've certainly had to tell my family. It's very, very easy to call the AI he or she or they. Quite often, because of these nice companies put these lovely voices on them. And so you think, oh, they're just like us, or they're just like pets, or they're nice, warm, friendly, biological things. They are not. They are ones and zeros being mathematically calculated at incredible speed to then spit out some language back at you. They don't have emotions, they don't feel, they are its. We would all do well to remember that. So who's going to save us from governance, etc.? Well, luckily I'm here in the right part of the world. The EU is going to save us. Because the EU loves bureaucracy, it loves tying things up in red tape, and you can guarantee it that over the next 5 years, we're going to see a whole bunch of EU mandates around AI, and it's going to slow it all right down. And we're going to have time. So let's talk about the creative arts. We're going to have to go a lot faster now. So AI gives us unbounded creativity, but at what cost? Right, this is in Studio Ghibli format as such, which is a complete rip-off of the original Japanese author, right? So there's some real moral and ethical dilemmas there. This famous statement came about: I don't want AI to do my creative things, I want AI to do my dishes and my laundry, so I can spend time doing creative things, right? And I suspect that's something you all feel as well. You don't want AI to write the cool fun code for you. You want AI to write the Docker files for you. You want them to write the GitHub actions for you. So here's a very quick example where I just simply threw in some text into one of these AI image generators, and voila. Again, I showed my wife. I was very excited. Look, it can do your graphic design job for you. Needless to say, she's currently back in New Zealand with my son while I'm over here. This is Tilly Norwood, the world's first AI actress who's actually been signed by a Hollywood agent. Interesting. Caused a lot of kerfuffle in the media in Hollywood, right? Again, very, very tempting for movie makers. Making movies is very expensive, to hire AI actors and actresses who never complain, work 24/7, don't cause any moral dilemmas on or off the set, and so on. Now, hopefully I can get this to play. Let's see.
Here's my prompt. Create a square avatar of a fictitious female alternative / indie singer and a name for her.
Wow, Sadie Winters.
Sadie Winters, okay. The song is about walking away from someone who never really saw her worth. Just going to create the song lyrics.
Wait, how many seconds was that?
That was like about 4 seconds. Oh my God.
Did you even read any of these, or you don't care?
I don't care. Put my lyrics in.
The lyrics that happen in 4 seconds.
Yes. And then hit create. Let's listen.
This is the world premiere.
I was paper, you were scissors, cut me out.
She's a good singer.
Good singer. Ooh, that's nice. Pretty good.
Where are we, Rick? Where have we found ourselves?
Right. That was one of the first videos I saw on AI creative generation. I went, what the hell have we done? Quite seriously, what have we done? Have we just unleashed an absolute monster here? And if you're a young singer-songwriter or if you're a young artist, I don't know whether you'd be crying tears of joy because tools like this can maybe help you, or whether you're just tears of despair, right? Because this thing can absolutely replace you in theory. If I had not seen that clip and I just heard that song, I would have thought, yeah, sounds like a great pop song sort of thing that, dare I say it, Taylor Swift would produce, right? Terrifying stuff.
Here's my prompt. Create.
Next slide. Here's a quick video. Like, everyone's heard about Sora 2, so here is, again, I'm a movie maker. I'd normally have to hire a drone to go out over a waterfall. Don't need to do that anymore. So lots to think about. Then we talk about AI and the impact on society. So, we Brexited, the UK Brexited, which was horrible. It was certainly found out during and afterwards that there was lots of manipulation on both sides in terms of the data and information that was out there. And there was a company called Cambridge Analytica which got their hands spanked, naughty boys for misleading the public. Too little too late though. The UK is now out of Europe. It's a devastating effect, more for the UK than Europe, might I add. Right, the numbers over there aren't good. Brexit did not get them the results they were expecting. Surprising nobody. But there you go. But today it's even worse, right? Because if you go on any social media website, X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you go, well over half of the people you're chatting to, or half the people you see chatting to each other, are AI bots, right? Just fueling the rage, fueling the debates, fueling the split in society. And it's very, very hard to tell, especially in the short form format that platforms like X have, whether or not it is an AI you're talking to. And you have to do some real research of that account behind the scenes to find out. So I've just dropped social media altogether. I just don't go on it. There's no point. I don't even know who the humans are on there anymore. All right. Another interesting fact. Look at that graph shooting up extremely high for both men and women. Right? Humans are increasingly spending more time with their devices and spending more time with things like the AI algorithms than they are with their fellow humans. Now, sure, COVID had a part to play here. But this graph has continued to go on. I looked at the numbers for 2024, and it's continuing to spike. Right? And part of it is this. People are spending time with their AI companions. Did everyone see this movie, Her? Yeah? If you haven't seen it, you should absolutely go see it. It is a real eye-opener into what the future world could look like, even probably in about 5 years' time, possibly even less. It's absolutely heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. The emotional attachment this character has to his AI companion is both beautiful and terrifying, and it's super interesting. So what's going to happen? Hopefully, we will go back to doing more of this as people. Or in the DevOps way, we'll have this. Thank you, Sandra, for the permission to use this photo from earlier today. So I think it's really telling that Stefan and everyone else here has built such a wonderful community that we really care about seeing each other and talking about stuff like this in person, even though we're meant to be a bunch of introverted computer geeks. This is what might happen to the next generation of humanity, that they might throw away all this digital stuff and just go outside and hang out together. I can already see some counter movements happening. So, I threw an awful lot of information at you, and some of it seemed very doom and gloom. So, are we going to be okay? No, we want this, don't we? I want this. If not just for the cool Jedi-looking kind of attire. You know, I just want to chill out in those robes. They look pretty fantastic. So in the short term, we are 100% going to get this. There is going to be short-term chaos caused by this technology wave. Just like every other major technology wave before it, whether it was a steam engine, whether it was electricity, whether it was the internet, whether it was the first gunpowder. Right? All these things completely changed human society, and this is going to be no different. When you add that to all of the other interesting things going on in the world today, it is a bit of a perfect storm, and I personally do believe we're going to see some really unpleasant times, but it'll hopefully be short-lived. In the long term, I genuinely believe we're going to see this, right? And again, when I talked about Jevons paradox and when I talked about the creative disruption graph, after one of these major technology disruptions, over our past 10,000 years of history, or 100,000, or 7 days, depending on which religion you believe in, right? It's always been that way, and history always repeats itself, and I am 100% confident that this is going to be our outcome as well. There's just going to be a few bumps in the road. Today, AI is a mirror of humanity, right? The training models have all been trained on the open internet and a bunch of closed data sources. Most of them have had to put some sort of responsible AI around them because, let's face it, the internet is a cesspit. Right? All of you who've thrown out mean comments to each other or thrown out yet another cat video, we have to sort of make sure that AI just doesn't think the world is all about cats playing pianos. All right? So they do reflect our brilliance and our biases and things. And so I believe whatever is coming in the future will depend on how we treat it, how we train it, and how we mold it. So I think we will adapt like we have with every other tooling change in the world, right? Whether you've gone through, most of you have been through a generation where you had to use a phone where you had to do this, right? You had cassette tapes, then you had CDs, and then CDs weren't cool anymore. You had dial-up modems, right? Most of you probably started in a world even without a computer. Look how much the world has changed, yet humans have just rolled on through. Not a problem. And again, we shall adapt and overcome, my evil Mac. Come on, say no. There we go. So my very final thought on this is that as software engineers and as people who are currently literally in charge of either creating the models, training the models, doing the inference, doing the responsible AI, putting the glue together for all of them, teaching the sub-agents how to be nice, not shouting at them too much, like I do. The way that AI is going to turn out is going to be down to you. So my only final ask of all of you is, please make good choices. And thank you very much for listening.